Okay. Oh, good. It automatically records. Oh, I see everybody coming in. I'm just going to wait a minute.
Yeah.
Hi, Daniel.
Hi, everyone.
Pink, hyperteague. Hello. Sweet. Okay, I think we can probably get started. Everyone will see the recording if they're late. So, okay. Yep. Hi, everyone. Welcome back. This is our second Research Guild workshop with Thomas. Super excited. This one's going to cover a lot and basically like how the Research Guild actually functions, what makes this so unique. And we're starting with a bit of an overview of like traditional research and how this like DAO structure is kind of different, and basically the advantages of connecting directly with Covalent's data, which is going to be sweet. So hopefully this video will be something you can refer back to as well for future researchers. Yeah, really glad you all showed up. Hi, Genesis founders as well. And I'll hand it over so we can get started.
Cool. Thanks. So hi, everyone. I'm Thomas, and so I'm the Research Guild leader. And today I'm really proud to announce that we are basically ready to officially launch research activities within the guild and onboard everyone that wants to be involved and work with us. So let's get started. First, I want to give an overview of what I would like to talk to you guys about today. So the first thing is I want to give a kind of high-level perspective on how research is traditionally done in academia, which is where I come from. So you guys can kind of understand where we are coming from in terms of how research is produced, what I think, those are personal opinions, the strengths and weaknesses of how it works right now, and how we were inspired to come up with our own approach of community-driven research. So our approach to community-driven research is obviously going to evolve with time, but I'm quite excited to like show you what we've been working on. And so I'll actually get into the onboarding process with the roles and the rewards we have designed so you guys can join. Because yeah, initially we wanted to, so we set up this type form and wanted to have people join us, and then like 55 or 60 people actually joined. So we thought it would be just easier to set up a whole onboarding process that automatically onboards people. So I'll tell you all about that. And then I'll get into the structure we designed in terms of the incentive structure. And at the end, I'll finish with a live demo with just like some Metabase tips, how to set up an account quickly, what we have set up for you to be able to join and set up a free open source account, and how to make your first charts and first dashboard. So let's get to it. So how is research done? So this is about academia, and one big part of research is the peer review process. So basically, I want to give you an overview of what's happening in research in academia, and then you'll see hopefully how this can translate to some of the aspects we have designed for the system we want to do within the DAO. So basically, it all starts with researchers, right? So the authors, and they take like years or months at least of research. And then after they have done their research and they have written a manuscript, they have to submit it. So after they submit it, the first step is basically to get it approved by the editorial team, which works for a publishing company usually. And they'll basically judge whether your article is interesting for the journal they work for. So basically their goal is to say, well, this article is potentially going to interest our readers. So the team behind it seems pretty good. We like the topic and it might get cited a lot, which is really good for journals because it's how we evaluate them with a metric called the impact factor. And if they decide it's not good enough, they'll reject it right away. So that's basically here. And you can resubmit it to another journal, maybe less prestigious or more like focused than the one before. But if they say it's worth reviewing, then they'll send your publication to reviewers. And then reviewers are here and they are like experts in the field. And they really have to like get in the paper and get through it thoroughly, give you constructive feedback, judge the overall quality of the article, check your analysis, your methods, who you cite, if you're missing something important, anything really. And this is like the most important part of the process. So from my experience, when you have good reviewer, it's really, really awesome because they give you super good ideas and help you make the article much better. Sometimes, of course, it can be a little bit tough and long and a bit annoying, but overall, I think it's a really good process. And then basically the back and forth between authors and reviewers starts until you eventually your paper is accepted. Well, it's either accepted or rejected, basically. And basically, when it's accepted, your article is published in the review you submitted. So from my experience, this is a really, really long process. It can take months or even years to get one good article published, but it's really worth it because it really does make research a lot better. Okay, so that's what's good about research, in my opinion, and what we'll try to take advantage of. Let me just another. Okay, so now on to what's quite wrong, at least in my opinion. So here is a little diagram that's not very pretty, but that I made. And that shows you kind of how money flows between the different actors of the whole research ecosystem. So you can start with the authors, so the ones that are actually doing the work. They spend, as I said, years and years of work trying to publish their articles. So they work a ton, they have to get their own funding, and they try to publish quality research. And they are paid by universities, and that provides basically their salaries, scholarship to their students, the equipment, and everything else. The research can also sometimes be directly funded by regional, federal, or national grants, depending on the countries. And these universities, anyways, are usually paid by the taxes that every citizen pays. So that's how universities get money, at least in some of the countries, including France, for example, where I'm from. And so here goes what's kind of a bit absurd about this. So when you publish your research as an author, you actually have to pay quite a lot of money to publish it. So you pay money to publish your own article, and can be really expensive. It's even more expensive if you want it to be open access. So I'll talk a bit about that later. So you pay to publish your own articles, and when you do that, you actually give up your copyrights. So that's not great. And if you're curious, for example, and you want to get access to some research articles when you are a citizen, so part of the general public, you can't, because you have to buy it. So basically, so you can, but you have to pay like around $35 basically per article, which is like a lot, to the publishing companies. Otherwise, you can't really get access to it. The only way that's different is when authors, as I said, pay more to publish their articles. So the articles are open access, and then the general public can access it. But then, I mean, publishing companies make more money by having the authors and the researchers also pay more. Also, universities pay a ton of money to get all of their students within the universities access to the published research. So that's more money going into the publishing companies. So basically, that's kind of what's weird is like, for example, I wrote articles that are published. And if I want, so you have, I think, 3 months or 6 months period where you can access it freely. But for now, like, for example, if I publish something 3 years ago and it's my article and I want to access it, I have to pay it. All universities have to pay access for me to actually read it on the journal it was published in. So that's not great. And you might wonder what the publishing companies are doing with all this money. Well, they do pay salaries to the editorial team, but again, it actually depends on the companies and on the editorial team. So sometimes they're not really paid, sometimes they have salaries, sometimes it's just like a one-time thing. What's even worse is that reviewers are not paid at all. So that's actually like a big part of the whole process, and reviewers are never paid. So when you review an article, you spend like hours trying to make something better, and you're not paid for this. So basically, authors and colleagues are doing this because it looks really good on the resume. So if you are a reviewer for high impact journal, then it's really good because it's kind of prestigious, but you're never paid doing this, which is kind of bad. So yeah, they don't pay a lot of money and they get a lot of money. And that's, for example, that's how Elsevier, for example, I don't know how to pronounce it actually. It's a huge publishing corporation. And they made, I just looked it up, it's like they made $2.94 billion in revenue in 2019, which is quite a lot. So why am I telling you this? Well, it's just because I want you guys to be involved in making some of the first steps in figuring out other ways of doing research. And I really believe that with blockchain technology, with DAOs, we have the tools to do research in a more, in a fair and frankly, just like better way, so that profits can just go back to the community and people who are doing the actual work. So for me, and that's again personal, I see the Research Guild as an amazing opportunity to think differently and to use the Research Guild as a playground to experiment and innovate in this space and for research about blockchain, but also for how research works more globally. All right, so we'll move on to the incentive structure and the onboarding process for the Research Guild. Yeah, I think it's kind of important to have this in mind, and also, yeah, be mindful that the whole process that we have designed now will probably change, hopefully change, based on what the community wants and how things are going. So this is just like a starting base that we want to build on. Okay, so here it is. That's the incentives structure. So here are my thoughts about how it's going to work for now, basically. So you have the researchers, still starting from them. They can work on dashboards, articles, tutorials, depending on the track they want to follow. I'll talk more about this later. And once they are ready, they can fill out a form and use our template documents that we made to submit their work. The work is going directly to the reviewers, and the goal of the reviewers, based on the system I told you guys about before, is to give constructive feedback, advice, and evaluate kind of the overall quality of the content until both researchers and reviewers agree and think the work is ready to be published. And so in all mechanisms, reviewers and researchers are actually paid because I think both work is super important. And so that's how we want to design it. So both reviewers and researchers will be actually paid for the work they put in. Once the submission is accepted, then it's transferred to administrators. And the role of administrators is just to publish the work or store it where it's supposed to go. So it can be posted on social media, added to a website we want to have where basically accepted on published dashboard are all displayed. By the way, if you're a front-end developer that can do this, basically build a kind of Glassnode-like website with all our dashboards, and that can also maintain a clean GitHub repo for us. That would be awesome. So reach out to me if you are that guy. And so they can also basically send the work to partners. For example, if it was a collaboration with someone, if partners like requested specific content, that's the administrator that would just send it to them. And so they can store it in like a decentralized library. I know the Education Guild is working on something like this. We can add them to like the kind of, I call it Metabase Elite, but it's just like another Metabase space where all the published accepted dashboards will be stored and accessible for the community. Yeah, that's kind of the structure. The guild revenues will almost entirely come from partners. We might have different kinds of partners. The obvious ones, I think, are protocols that want to showcase some of their new innovations or new pools, or just like DeFi protocols. It can be like NFT platforms, basically anything that's blockchain related and that Covalent can index. They might want some insights or what's going on. It can be blockchain gaming to check out cool stats about the games that are developed on chain. It can be a lot of things. It can also be, I think, news organizations that want to publish content and like co-author it with us, or use our charts to actually make better news posts or content about different things in the blockchain ecosystem. It can be partners that want to push education around blockchain, and that our cool educators will be able to contribute to that. So that's mainly the revenues for the guild, and it'll be all going into this kind of structure for now. So yeah, that's the incentive structure, and now we can get to the onboarding process we designed. So cool. We have designed 3 tracks. So the track 1 is the on-chain analyst track. The track 2 is the content creator track, and the track 3 is the educator track. So basically, on-chain analysts will mostly be making cool dashboards based on like hopefully mostly using Metabase. You can use other things, but we are really pushing this Metabase thing. Content creators will write like articles, publish Twitter threads, interviews, podcasts, videos, any kind of blockchain content really. And then we have our educators that can make awesome tutorials to inform guild members and basically everyone else about blockchain and research. Note that you can choose to go through multiple tracks, but you do have to like complete the whole track. Like you can't jump from one track to another in order to get to higher roles. You really have to do them from the beginning. Okay. So here is how it works. Basically, you have to do specific tasks and then submit it. So it's really kind of, it works in two ways, I think. One way is to just like do the task, which is important. And the other way, the other like objective is to get familiar with the process of submitting something, getting reviewed, getting it accepted, and then getting it published. So that's kind of the two objectives there. So for example, the very first role we called data gremlin. We have like perhaps so NFTs designed for each of these roles. They are getting designed right now, so they're not all ready, but they will be when we give the reward. So that's really cool. I'm excited about it. Vexter from the DAO, the DAO is actually making them. So the first step, for example, for on-chain analysts will be to get a Metabase account, a free open source one, kind of learn about the Covalent data structure and make your just first query and visualize it. So that's good because I'm about to show you guys how to do this. And then the content creator will be to just like write a one-page article or just a short video podcast about the topic you're interested in. It can be anything. For the first step, really, it can just be something you just want to write about or make a video about. It's better if it's blockchain, but you can do anything for the first step. And then the track 3 is the just make a small tutorial about a topic you would like to teach. And so this is the main kind of framework. You guys got it. I'm not going to go over all the roles and all the tracks and all the assignments, so that's going to be too long. But you can find it all on our Discord. Well, you can go to Discord too. That's good. But a Notion page is ready and has all the information. But I'll show you guys also later the Notion page. So yeah, you can get through roles and like unlock cool NFTs. And then at one point, there will be actually the unlocking the data apprentice. So this is kind of the part you have to impress us by making, for example, your own original dashboard or like a little series of contents, for example, like 2 different contents about one topic when you're like a content creator, or like a series of small tutorials about one topic. That's really cool when you are an educator. And then you unlock still NFTs, but also CQT. And then it gets even better because once you publish 5 dashboards or 5 articles or 5 tutorials, then you get even more CQT, another NFT, and you can unlock the data warlock role, which is basically like a base salary if you're willing to dedicate more than 15 hours a week to the research guild. And that comes with both a base salary, which is already pretty awesome. And then what's cool is like once you get this role, every single dashboard or article or content you will make will be rewarded as a bonus. So if you're like really productive, you can actually earn quite a lot of CQT. And then that's the last role, which is data wizard. So you earn obviously more CQTs, the last final NFTs. And for this, you have to make, of course, more content, but you also have to make reviews, which is really, really important, and get familiar with the whole process of reviewing people and giving constructive feedback and everything. So that's a big thing. And same kind of principle, if you dedicate more than 20 hours a week to the research guild, you will get a higher base salary. And then same, like rewards for every dashboard or content or tutorial you make as a bonus. Yeah, so these are the incentives we were thinking of for people that reach the data warlock and data wizards ranks. So these really will change with time. They are not definite. It's just like we start with like a model we think is quite good, but basically, yeah, we have to just like get through it and have people just joining, so we like optimize all this. But one thing to remember, and that's actually important. So again, all of this can be found on our Notion page. One thing that's important and that you guys really remember is that the rewards will basically be based on the quality of the content, the quantity too a little bit. For example, for written content, it's quite important to evaluate how long your work is. And it will also include how much effort has been put into producing the research, what was the expertise that was needed to produce it, and things like that. And then we also introduced a kind of mechanism that will just like increase rewards if your self-evaluations about how much work you put in this and how hard it was and how many hours you worked match the estimations of the reviewers. So the more it matches, the more both estimations match, the more rewards you're going to get. And so that way we kind of incentivize people to give fair estimates of the work they did. And same goes for reviewers. Like reviewers will also be doing self-evaluations and getting feedback from researchers. So yeah. Yeah, and finally, for members that really want to contribute a lot and like that want to be involved in like finding partners, onboarding more people, like kind of looking for high-level different directions for the guild, leading a whole group of people on a particular project and stuff. So this will for now, it will just be, well, you have to get through all the steps first. And then we'll do a vote between the existing guild leaders and the oracles that are involved with the research guild to see if everyone thinks that's a good idea, basically. And then, yeah, to apply for guild leader position, you should spend at least 3 months in the guild. There can be exceptions, but that's like the basis. And this doesn't really apply to Genesis founders if they want to join, just because they have proven that they're really involved with the community already. So the 3 months thing is not for Genesis founder. Yeah, and this is a higher salary, base salary, and it comes with bonus rewards too, but it's more based on like finding partners and onboarding people and everything else. So yeah, that's the onboarding process. That's the incentive structure. I'll keep questions for the end, because I'm going to give you a quick tour of the tools and what we've talked about. And I'm going to get some water too. Okay. Okay, let me stop the screen sharing. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so this is important. That's our research guild Notion page. So we've been improving it a lot. Here is our mission and vision, the quick description. But what we've been working on a lot is setting up the things I told you about. So it's all available here. If you don't want to get like through the video again or anything, you can just like find it all here. It's basically everything we talked about. And then you have like resources to apply. So this is a type form you can use to apply for the research guild. This is a link to the first video we made 2 weeks ago. This will be this video. The Discord channel or Alpha Alarm Twitter, which is like basically where we post our threads about cool on-chain analytics. That's our email. And then you get into how to submit your work when you are an on-chain analyst, a content creator, an educator. So you have submission forms and then documentation, but I'll talk to you guys about this a bit later. How to review, but that's not really the topic for now. I'll talk about this maybe in another video. Then you have processes on how to brand your charts when you're an on-chain analyst, for example. You have a cool SQL stream that Brandon did. So if you're looking for like cool tips on how to make cool queries on the Covalent database, that's a cool place to start. Then this is the link that some of you might want to use to set up your free Metabase account, but I'll get more into that. And then here will be the bounties. So when we have, for example, partners that do requests, you can find them here if you are a data warlock or a data wizard. Here's a link for hackathons, the metrics, the members. So yeah, so I'll come back to this a bit later, but that's just to give you an overview of what's here. So for the Metabase thing, there are different things to consider. So at first, you guys will be asked to set up a free Metabase account that's open source, that's based on Heroku. It's really good. And then basically, once you get to Data Warlock, we'll get you on the paid Metabase account, which includes like all the dashboards we already made and everything. But so to set up a free account, you have to go on this site. And this is, you can find this like on the Notion page, right? Sorry. Right here. So basically you just have to like kind of follow the instructions, click on deploy it to Heroku. This will take to different pages, and you have to make sure to have a Heroku account. And then what's going to happen is like today, maximum tomorrow, we'll send all the people that signed up on the Research Guild form. So in the Research Guild type form, we'll all send them credentials so they can deploy their app, their Metabase version, like open source version of Metabase, with the credentials and access to the Covalent database. So you'll see that when you follow these steps, you can deploy your own version of Metabase. And at one point, Metabase will actually ask you some credentials to access the database, and that's Covalent database. And so we'll all send you an email with your private credentials and kind of some basic instructions on how to set up the account, but it's quite easy. I'm not going to do it here because I'm already logged in like the paid Metabase account, and I wanted to show you some things, but it's quite easy. And if you have questions, please just ask me. You can DM me on Discord or like send an email, just like find ways to ask your questions. The best way to ask your questions is actually to go on Discord and to ask it on the Data Nerd chat channel. Just because like if you have questions, other people will probably have very similar questions. So it's nice to put it somewhere so that everyone can see it. Okay, so once you create your Metabase account, you're gonna end up with something that's quite similar to this. So this is like the paid branded Metabase, but it'll look kind of exactly the same without all those collections at first, because you have none. But the structure is the same. So here you have like our analytics, so what was already made, and here you have our data. So you'll have this. And I kind of showed it to you guys last week, but basically when you click on this, you can just explore all the Covalent data, which is huge. All the chains it can index, the testnet, the mainnets, IXE, BSC. It just like goes on and on, basically, as you can see. And then you can like get into it and see what's in those chains. So you have accounts, you have blocks, which is quite important, block transactions, block log events, the contracts, a lot of things. So for example, if you click on block transactions, you can actually see all the transactions that are just happening on one chain, if this works. Doing science. Okay. So usually it's a bit faster, but maybe my internet connection is actually suffering a bit here. I'll try again. Okay. Well, it doesn't really matter. Oh. Let's try something else. Okay. Literally the first time I see this, but okay, it's okay. So basically, you got it. You can just like explore the data. If it was working, you would have seen like all the blocks and the value that was transferred, the address that sent the transaction, the address that received the transaction, just kind of everything you would like to know about what's happening on the blockchain directly. And so you can either explore the data, but what's more important is to query it. So for this, you can use like ask a question, which is okay. I tried it. It's cool if you want some very basic information, but most of the time we will want you to use this. So when you write your own SQL to actually query some specific information about any blockchain you want to query information from. So when you click on this, it's going to give you a blank page, and you just have to write some SQL code. And I'll show you how to do this here. So, for example, yeah, this is a query I wrote. It's super easy. Basically, I'm going to show you how you can just ask your question, make your quick query, kind of play around with how you want to visualize your data, and then add it to an existing dashboard. So here you have to select the date and the sum, and do the sum over each day of the value that was transacted on the Avalanche blockchain. So that's quite simple. And then you group by date. And since it's grouped by day, you'll have like basically the whole volume of the value that was transacted for each day on the Avalanche blockchain. So it's denominated in AVAX, so the Avalanche tokens. Here you can notice that I just divided by 10 to the power of 18. That's just because you have no decimals in the blockchain. So you do have to include this so it fits. It's actually the value in AVAX, and you can find some information like in a lot of places actually on the Covalent database, and I can explain this in another video tutorial. But basically, once you've done this, you are ready to go. One thing I included here on purpose is this. So here you have the where, and you have to sign that, and it's between like weird parentheses. That's what's called a field filter in Metabase. So field filters are actually really cool. They can allow you to filter your data just over whole dashboards or like whole pages and doing everything at once on different charts. So it's really nice. So for example, here I did a field filter on the sign that, and I can just say it is a field filter. I can, which is the Avalanche blockchain. Then I select block transaction because that's where I'm querying the data. And then you choose sign that. You tell it you want to date filter, for example. You say it's required. And for example, you can set it by default for the previous 30 days. So once you set it, you can just like run your query like so. And so it is running. Hopefully this works. Oh no. Okay, that's a bit weird. I don't know if the database is actually like working on or not. It's like literally the first time I've had this, which is always when it's happening live. But no, okay. That's not great. Okay, so maybe we'll just move on, and I can do a tutorial and a video about this when it's working. But okay, let me just show you what kind of things it can do. So here are other queries for different questions I asked. So instead of having the total volume of transactions, here we have the mean volume, so the average volume per day. That's denominated either in AVAX or in USD. You can also query the transaction counts, and you can have the price on top of it. So you can ask a lot of different questions the way I showed it to you. Basically, what's supposed to happen is like when you query some data, then it'll make a chart and you can just choose how to visualize it, and then it gives these cool dashboard charts that you can add to a dashboard. So, and then if you want to filter it, like I said, you can just choose, for example, the last 15 days. So today, update it. Hopefully this works. I did all this an hour ago and it worked. Okay, so this works for some reason. And then you have the mean volume for the last 15 days, and you can choose any kind of value you want with this filtering that I showed you how to implement in the previous. Let me just try again once, because if this is working, I don't see why it's not working at all for the other things. Oh, it is working. Okay, awesome. All right, so back to when it's working. Once you have this, so this is as default using a table, then you use visualization, and you can see all the ways to visualize this. So let's choose, for example, a bar plot, and it gives you this, or you can just like use an area plot, or basically anything you would like to do. And then you can just like play around and play around with it and choose to like make it a bit nicer. So for example, here you have the date that's defined like this. You can just abbreviate it so we don't need like the, so we don't need the whole thing. Then you can go into the y-axis, which is showing the total volume, but like it doesn't say that it's in AVAX. So maybe we should make it a bit nicer. This we have like millions. So we can just, for example, multiply it by a number, like, yeah, and add the suffix. So you have the millions right away. But the y-axis is still not great. So you can just go to labels, put something like this. Here you can say total, example, volume AVAX. Yeah. What can you do? Yeah. If you have different values, you can just like put a trend line to see where your data is going, basically, and show the values just on the data points. Let's do it. You can stack it when you have multiple things you want to query. And so once you're ready, you just save your question, and you say, okay, this was the total volume in AVAX. Yeah, just like this. You can choose the collection it will go to. So let's say it was an avalanche collection. Save it. And then now it asks if you want to add this to a dashboard. So let's do yes, please. And I have an example dashboard here, so I can just add it there. And so you see the two other charts I showed you before. It's going to load, hopefully. Yeah, that's good. And so you get put it right here. So you have your chart that's right next to the two other ones. And now you can, for example, if you click on date filter, then you can select this, and so it will be part of the same date filter. So when I choose some other dates, it will just like update the whole dashboard, which is quite cool. You can save it. Okay, and now if we choose the previews for month, hopefully that's not taking too long. It should update all the dashboards at the same time. And so you can see that with these, it was quite fast. We had bugs, and it actually still was quite fast. So you can just like make fast queries about anything you want to know about the blockchain you're looking at. And that's quite easy to do. So we're really looking forward to having like more people making dashboards, contributing to this, submitting it to us so we can review it, publish it, and build this together. So with this, I'm just going to end up with some very quick overview of how you can submit a research. So when you have this dashboard, for example, you can just go here. You are an on-chain analyst because you just made a dashboard. You can click on the submission form, and then you can click on the documentation. And basically, you have to submit two things. So the first thing is you have to like fill in the form. So what's your name, your Twitter. I'm not going to do all this, but you know what I mean. How many times you have been submitting this work, because you want to prepare for the case that you submit your work, it's reviewed, and then you have to resubmit it. Your submission ID, so it will be a 5 number. You have to check your role and track. So if it's provided by an external partner, no, it's not a bounty. Well, it's good. Covalent on-chain activity dashboard. Well, let's say live demo. Right? Then you can provide the link to your submission, which is really easy to provide. You just have to go here, then you share this up, public link, and then you put the link, and then you have to provide the link to the documentation of the dashboard. So it's a lot, just to be clear, it's a lot easier to submit some articles and to submit the dashboard, just because of the on-chain analyst documentation template is quite, it's a bit heavier. And that's, so here you have to submit the form, your submission, and this documentation, which is super important to have like informations about what you have been doing. So you have the authors, the submission itself, a general presentation of the dashboard, and then you have to include the code you actually use to make those charts, so we can review it, edit it, and publish it in a GitHub repository. And so this is super important because it will allow the reviewer to
Thomas, I think you're frozen. Where you are for me, I'm not sure. Might have to close some windows. I think you might just reconnect. And then we'll move to some questions. There we go, you're back. You're on mute though.
All right, sorry. Yeah, it's my internet. Sorry about this. So Yeah. Did you guys got the documentation part?
Yeah, we froze like midway through the documentation template. So
Okay. Okay,
yeah.
cool. Perfect. So wait. Yeah. So this was the documentation template, and then basically what you have to do is to, sorry, Zoom is, yeah. You have to submit the actual link to your work, and then well, if it's not the first time, you have to submit the review that was assigned to you at first. But yeah, and then you have to do the self-evaluation. So how many characters did it include? How many spaces? No, how many characters did your code include? Your documentation, the number of hours you spent working on it, how difficult was it to do, the estimated difficulty for the documentation, and the feedback. And then you just have to submit it, and we'll review it. So that's the very quick tour of how to submit some work to the research guild. Hopefully you didn't find it too long. It's actually really not that bad once you get used to it. And then that allows reviewers and other guild members to have all the information they need to review your work, make it better, and then publish it and eventually send it to partners or post it on social media, or do other cool things with it. So yeah, I see that we've lost the questions.
There's a hand raised though. Adrian wants to ask something. So
Awesome, cool. So yeah, thanks everyone for attending.
Yeah, that was awesome. I'm moving on to questions.
Yeah, that was really good. Thank you, Thomas. So just, I don't know how many people can stay, beyond 1 hour. So I'm just gonna provide some feedback generally. I'm happy to stay on, and continue the call going, but some people may have to drop off for other work or meetings or whatever. So just from my context, I think this is not only a great presentation, but there's a lot of content here which is like exemplary for other guilds to study and like consider implementing, right? Like certainly in terms of the onboarding process, right? And like everything from the 3 different stages, right? With multiple steps in between, how people can grow and level up and learn these skills and then get rewarded with like the POAPs, right? Like the rank 1 and so on, right? So there's lots here to study and take in, but I think this is a very good model for other guilds to look at, and in terms of the incentive mechanism. So bravo, like this is very deep, a lot here, a lot of great thought, and certainly the tour of Metabase and how to submit a particular query to include all of that is fantastic. I think I'm inspired to actually join the research guild and actually go through each of the steps myself.
That sounds
so
great.
That I can do this. So and I will, but I'll probably just do it in my own time, not to like actively earn these things. But yeah, and I encourage anyone on this call or viewing this to go through this, right? I think we can see an opportunity like for us to level up individually, but also to contribute to the ecosystem in different ways by going through this process. So yes, but some feedback on your customer persona, right? So you started with academic research, and so I understand, looking at you, I think somebody in the chat shared a link to the research you're doing, applying machine learning to brain data, right? So like you
Yes.
have experience in an academic context. But I think the customer persona for our guild, right, the research guild, is not the academic research, right? Because we're not, these dashboards can help academic researchers, sure, with their, but that 2-year process that they are going to go through, for a peer review publication, right? That's not really what we're catering to. So, I think just let's look at the persona, like just in your own documentation, right? So like as you frame this, like, the problem is still the same, right? Like about review and, and there's benefit for involving community, instead of to replace peer review, right? But it's either a corporate research or it is something like research for PR, right? Because there's a lot of journalists, or blockchains and influencers, right, who want to do work, right? And it's also like VCs, right? There's funding partners. So this is what I mean by corporate research. But then there's also like the blockchains themselves, right? Who want dashboards to understand what's going on. So like develop these personas, like so that we can understand like what type of research and how they are going to be paid for and what the value exchange is too. Because sometimes the researcher and the author are the same too. And then the researcher does not need to earn money. You know what I mean? Like, so I wrote an article which was published, but then I don't need to pay myself. You know what I mean? But I will pay for the review. Right. So like, so anyway, so if you frame the right personas, then the model also becomes more clear, like the incentive, like who is paying for what and the value exchange.
Cool. Yeah, that's really good advice. Thanks. I was actually like trying to come up with some designs for everyone that will want to get involved, and so maybe I didn't emphasize this enough, but this is like, for us, the whole review process for this kind of dashboards or contents should not take years at all. We want to aim towards like something that can be basically submitted, reviewed, eventually resubmitted in like a couple of days. Like we want to have something that's much faster. Also because the research is not as deep as people do in academia, and like so that for sure, like we are aiming to take the peer review part and make it a lot more efficient and faster, so that partners, everyone can just come up, query, make some requests for us, and we are like really we can react on time and have some bounties to motivate people to do it quick too.
So if there's any other questions, I know we're over time a little bit, so we can also wrap it up. But if anyone wants to raise their hand really quick or write something in the chat, maybe we can take like a couple. Otherwise, as Thomas said, just head to the Discord and ask questions in the like research discussion or any of those. Is that the correct one? The research discussion channel?
Yes. No, it's a data nerd chat.
Okay, data nerd chat. Add questions in there.
Yeah. But yeah, feel free to join us on Discord, ask questions there, and we'll be super happy to have you. And I'm actually really excited to see the first submissions and start from there.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. Okay, I don't see anything else for now, so I think we can wrap it up and catch up with you guys in Discord. Thank you so much, Thomas. That was incredible. I literally always learn so much from these things. Like, they're rockstar workshops, so much appreciated. In case anybody missed it or you want to share this, we'll upload the video on the AlchemistDAO YouTube, where the Education Guild's been putting everything. Yeah, thanks, Adrian, for joining as well. That's sweet.
Yeah,
like a
thanks.
Covalent research rockstar. And thank you, Genesis founders, everybody else that's come out. Yeah, you want to say any last words? No, thank you, everyone. I'm really excited to work with you and have your first submissions. And see you next time. All right, see you guys. Thank you. Bye.